Well, good morning. The time being 9 a.m, I declare open the general meeting for the Gladstone Regional Council for Tuesday the 20th of January 2026, and welcome back. to everyone for our first general meeting for the year, and I'd like to acknowledge Councillor Wagner and Councillor Davis, who are joining us online, and thank you all councillors for being here. Therefore, we have no apologies. So I'll move to the next item on the agenda, councillors, which is our messages of condolence. Do we have any messages of condolence? No messages of condolence. I'll move to the next item on the agenda, which is prior notifications of conflict of interest. I have a conflict I'd like to declare that I, Mayor Matt Burnett, have previously declared a declarable conflict of interest in relation to item G 8.1, strategic land opportunity purchase, as the property I own is in close proximity to the land owned by Clava Limited. In accordance with my prior declaration, I'll remain in the room to participate in the discussion but will not vote on the matter. And that has been already determined by council. Are there any further conflicts of interest? No further conflicts of interest. We'll move to the next item on the agenda, which is the Mayor's statement. And I'd like to acknowledge a few of the events we've hosted since our last council meeting. Of course, we had our New Year's Eve event, and I'd like to thank the team for putting on our New Year's Eve event again. Of course, it was a huge event down there at the GPC Marina Parklands. Also, of course, Festival of Summer, huge event happens for our young generation over the Christmas holidays. And on last Monday, the 12th of January, we welcomed 15 new apprentices and trainees, which is fantastic to see our new round of recruits joining the Gladstone Regional Council team, and we wish them all the very best. And of course, yesterday we also welcomed our new Youth Council members, 9 returning Youth Council members from last year, 10 new Youth Council members, which is amazing, and also for the first time, the Neighbourhood Centre Junior Youth Council with 11 members. And the most exciting part about that is that we have members of our Youth Council and Junior Youth Council from right across the region, including Gladstone, Boyne, Calliope, Westow, Agnes Water, and maybe Miriam Vale, but definitely Agnes Water as well. So that's fantastic. It's great to see Youth Council members will be able to bring the thoughts of their peers from right across the region as well. And I'm looking forward to seeing how they present themselves and bring reports back to council in the next 12 months. And thank you, Councillor Patrick, for being there yesterday, and all the councillors who were able to attend to welcome our new Youth Council. I'm looking forward to attending their first meeting in March, I believe it is, March, and where they'll appoint their chair. Upcoming events in the Gladstone region, of course, we have our big Australia Day event happening at the Millennium Esplanade in Tenham Sands. It's 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. There's also other events council supporting, including the Australia Day breakfast at Turkey Beach, in Bullion, and of course on Curtis Island. And there's also other events happening right across the region at the Royal Hotel in Mount Larkham. There's crab races in Agnes Water. There will be events happening in Calliope, and I know the Tenham Sands Hotel is having events as well, but that's plenty of events for you to check out on social media. But those are the big events. And now, as I said, our big event is, of course, the Millennium Esplanade, and 1,000 free snags for the first 1,000 people who turn up, and plenty of food vendors and lots of live entertainment. And we'll also present our Celebrate Australia Day Primary School Art Competition Awards. And that's the big events, but of course, the night before, as we always do, we host our Australia Day Awards and our citizenship ceremony. And as I've said many times in this chambers and many times on radio and in the media, it's a fantastic opportunity for our new citizens, the people deciding to make the Gladstone region home, to celebrate with the people who have made our region a great place to live, work and play. And also it's in the air-conditioned comfort of the GECC. And finally, 2 final things actually. On Thursday is the National Day of Mourning, and our flags in front of the council chambers will fly at half-mast to acknowledge and recognise the tragedy in Bondi. And that's just a way of showing our respect, as I'm sure that will happen in many civic buildings across the nation this Thursday on the National Day of Mourning. And finally, councillors, today is the first opportunity we have to acknowledge the recent retirement of one of council's longest-serving employees, Dean Batterham. Dean commenced employment with Gladstone City Council on the 18th of September, 1984. Were you born yet, Simon? No. There you go. The majority of Dean's time at council was spent working on the region's extensive roadwork. Well, yeah, I wasn't in grade 4. Well done to Dean. Increased in size, of course, following the amalgamation in 2008. Dean held various roles throughout his time at council, including working at various depots, including Lion Street and Calliope, taking on roles such as the roller operator, the grader operator, the ganger and the leading hand. And his final role with Gladstone Regional Council was leading hand within the Western Roads Program Delivery Team. His final day at Gladstone Regional Council was on Friday the 19th of September. So on behalf of the Gladstone Regional Council and on behalf of our entire community, thank you, Dean, for your 41 years of service. Here. Thank you, councillors. We'll move to the next item on the agenda, which is the confirmation of the minutes. G2.1 for the general meeting.
Happy to move,
of
Mr.
December.
Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Churchill. Second to Councillor Patrick. All in favour? Thank you. That's carried. We'll then move to our officers' reports, and our first officers' report is G4.1, extension application to DA 94/2009, preliminary approval overriding the planning scheme for Hummock Hill Island development at Lot 3, Hummock Highway Foreshores 4678. And I'll hand over to the General Manager of Customer Experience, Kimberly Wilson, and welcome Tegan and Helen to the table. Thank you.
Morning, councillors. Thank you. Yep, I have Helen Robertson with me, the Manager of Development Services, and Tegan MacDonald, the Principal Planning Lead. So this report relates to an extension application for the Hummock Hill Island development approval. The applicant, Eaton Place Pty Limited, is seeking to extend the lapse date by 8 years, from the 2nd of November 2024 to the 2nd of November 2032. The original application was refused by Council at its general meeting on the 15th of May 2008, with 17 reasons for refusal. The decision was subsequently overturned when the Coordinator General called in the application and issued an approval. The development was under assessment by the former Miriam Vale Shire planning scheme and the then draft Gladstone Regional Council planning scheme. The approval has remained active, including through a COVID-related extension, and the current extension request was lodged prior to the existing lapse date, keeping the approval valid until a decision is made. The development process proposes a resort and residential complex designed to accommodate approximately 3,900 people, including up to 2,700 tourists at full capacity and a maximum of 770 permanent residents. It includes a mix of accommodation types and price points, along with a range of supporting facilities and services. Assessment of the extension application has been carried out. In this instance, assessment has been undertaken against the current planning scheme, noting the Miriam Vale Shire planning scheme was superseded on the 12th of October 2015. The development approval also includes several notable conditions that fall outside Council standard requirements, which are outlined in the paper. The officer's recommendation at the extension application be refused for the reasons detailed in attachment 1 of the officer's report. I will take the report as read and invite any questions.
Yeah, look, I've read through that report and I really like the look of this development, and the fact that it's been called in already once by the state and given significant status to the development, I think speaks for itself. I don't know which is the best way to go about this, whether, because really I think, I don't disagree with anything in the report that you've put forward. It's all in line. So when we're assessing this on a regional, local level, yep, I can see where you're driving. But when you look at it on a state level overall, I think this is worthy of proceeding. And how we go about that, I don't know. Whether we give the full 8 years extension, I wouldn't be opposed to that, or whether we extend the process through for a number of years to give the applicant the chance to maybe get back its significant status, and maybe the Coordinator General can reinstate that. And I think if the development was looked at through SARA, I think there would be a different outcome rather than looking at it at the local level.
Thanks, Mayor Matt. I'm happy to hear if anybody's opposed to the project or perhaps in favour of the officer's recommendation before I speak, if there's anybody against it. But well, I'd like to speak in favour of it, but I'm happy to hear any part of the argument from the other side. But, well, probably the reason for it, Mayor Matt, and I'll just say this not necessarily as a point of order, but I'm on public record of this particular project on many times, and I feel like here we go again. I've got to sit here and I've got to go through the whole process to explain all the significant benefits of this development for our Gladstone region. But I'm happy to hear another argument against the project, or I'm happy to hear the argument in favour of the officer's recommendation. If you wouldn't mind, then come back to me. Thank you.
Indeed. Thank you.
I'm not sure I'm going to give you what you're looking for, Councillor Churchill, except that I do agree a lot with what Councillor Cameron has actually said in regards to the quality of the report, how it aligns, the recommendation aligns with our planning scheme. However, it does sit at another level of significance for our community and would be a great opportunity. I'm also probably not comfortable with 8 years because I feel like we've already had a lot of time, and this proponent's had a lot of time to do some work. However, for me, if it was 4 years or 3 years, I would be comfortable in that being an opportunity for them to outwork some of the challenges that they have. Then they could bring it back to us, and then we could explore that further. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Holzheimer. Councillor Wagner.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Thank you. I hope you can hear me all right. I am a fair distance away at the moment. I absolutely, I concur with both all the councillors actually, and Councillor Holzheimer's probably nailed it. The best I could look at was 3 years. But saying that, I think if you have a look at the planning scheme changes, you look at the overlays, and the consideration that this developer can resubmit at any time, and then it would have to comply with the current, legislation, regulations regarding that. I'm not seeing anywhere in the report, what the circumstances have been that have prevented this from going ahead. Now, they had 5 years plus COVID, gave them an opportunity for another 2 years. And when you look at all the figures and where we are now, because they had another sort of semi-extension, you're looking at nearly 8 years that this has had an opportunity to go. And obviously the development started in early 2000. The other issue for me, or something that I think, having a community the size of Calliope on that particular island, knowing what the overlays are going to be and all the restrictions, I'm not sure that it's going to be able to be developed that way anyway. There's going to be, and there was already conditions imposed when the minister called that in and then approved it. So, the department did it. I think I would have liked to see what the reasons were. The other fact is they still don't have the tenure over the land. At the moment, it's got an occupied lease. And I'm just wondering too, I can't see why that lease hasn't sort of been approved anywhere in there. I would have liked to have known some context behind why this hasn't gone ahead. And also underlying this is, I think that it's been that much time and that many iterations of what the rules are regarding the planning that, I think for them the best option is to resubmit. So I think that's just my 2 bobs worth. But saying that, I do think that it is a project worth, I suppose, supporting. But the best I could do would be, and that's absolute extent, would be 3 years.
Thank you, Councillor Wagner. Councillor McClintock.
Thank you, Mayor. I think we're all wrestling with the same thing here, which is that on paper, if you just take this specifically against our current situation, it doesn't work. And that's what the report says very, very thoroughly. Do appreciate a lot of the information that's gone into there, but no one likes losing sunk energy and time and costs and all those sorts of things. And I know there has been a lot of time and energy and costs put into this to this point. I guess the bit that I'm just want a little bit of clarity on is this is approving obviously the DA overall. For them to actually progress and to start turning soil or putting infrastructure in, there would be more conditions or more approvals that need to be done, which would apply to our current standards. Or does this put them in place where they're only having to comply to the old standards should something be built?
Yes, so there is several conditions in the current Coordinator General conditions, which the report does speak for. It's not really structured the way we would necessarily condition something of this scale, a preliminary approval. There is many subsequent applications that are required, so this approval doesn't allow actual development to happen. They would need to do subsequent development permits, operational works, building works, etc. The Coordinator General approval, though, would be the overriding assessment scheme rather than our planning scheme as such. So there would likely be ongoing conflicts between the Coordinator General's conditions and then as our scheme is currently and as it continues to grow, this development will take, probably a decade to construct to its full extent. There would continue to be iterations of our planning scheme. So it is possible that there will continue to be gaps between the development as it goes and what our current planning framework is locally.
Right. And I guess the only other part there, not the only other part, there's a lot to it, but there are a few approvals, leases, as mentioned, that are not in place now. My concern is that we extend this and we're sitting here having this exact same conversation because approvals and leases take time. That's the reality of it, is that if we approve it today, they can't start digging tomorrow. They can't start doing the things that they need to do and probably want to do. This is not for lack of desire, I don't think. I probably don't have any other questions for you at this point, but happy to hear something else.
Thank you. I've got a couple of councillors lining up. I don't think one of the questions was answered, though, about, you might not be able to answer it, around the lease. Can anyone answer that, please, before I go to Councillor Davis?
Yeah, so the short version is the lease is outside of council control. That's dealt with by the Department of Natural Resources. That's a process that's been ongoing between that department and the developer for many, many years. Our understanding is that there has been some draft conditions released and discussions with the department. Our discussions with the department have really just confirmed that they're not finalised at this point in time, and it's not ready to be signed or endorsed by the department at this point.
Do you think, or is thinking not allowed to be asked, it's got nothing to do with this decision today?
I couldn't hazard a guess given it's outside of our control.
Okay. Have there been previous examples in all your years in planning, either of you, where a council decision has supported or rejected a lease being approved?
This would be the only one that I've ever dealt with. And I would hazard that a special development lease is not a very common lease given by the department. It was a new type of lease, even when this negotiation process started with the developer.
Okay. There's going to be more questions coming, no doubt. Councillor Davis, then back to Councillor Churchill.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can everyone hear me okay?
Sure can.
Yep. That was my question about the lease. So if the lease is, if we don't give the extension, obviously the lease, I think I saw a date there about maybe around December this year. So if the lease is not approved, obviously the whole development will not go ahead. That's my question, I suppose.
Yes, I would imagine so, that the development is contingent on this lease type being granted.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I'm pretty well, I think, with all the other councillors. I'm happy to give an extension, but maybe just a lesser amount, even if it was only maybe 12 months or 2 years, just to see if that lease has been granted in the first place. So anything can move forward.
Thank you, Councillor Davis. Councillor Churchill.
Thank you, Mayor Matt. Thank you, colleagues. I just say again, this particular project is visionary, and I had to go back through my records to make sure that I was continuing to stay on message from the previous discussions and debates we've had, and I'm pleased to hear what my colleagues are saying here at this stage. And perhaps from what Councillor Davis and be it others have said, if you're going to give it some favourable consideration, perhaps it could be conditioned on the basis that the lease is signed by.
No.
Now, I know I've heard that by the Queensland Government. We have that many conditions that we put out for developers. But as I said there before, this project is visionary. This is a community. This is a prime example. And I remember in reflection when I was the CEO of GAPDL, our regional tourism organisation, we threw our support behind the project because it was a project of state significance and regional significance, and it clearly articulated in the Destination Tourism Management Plan for an infrastructure for development. Not dissimilar to the development of Bribie Island, as we look at Bribie Island as it is now, and if you look back be it 60, 70 years of how that community originally began, it was based on a vision. And there was already a commitment at that particular time. And there was opposition to developing an island that had so many benefits to it. And this particular project is only a small footprint on the island. If I could just also articulate that in amongst this, not only the significant benefits from a tourism perspective, but this is a community development, and it will provide greater benefits, not only economically, socially, for the region, but it will also advance our region, because one of the solutions of being able to apply a strategy to put downward pressure on rates or to keep rates at a level is to increase your ratepayer base. And it is clearly articulated in this particular proposal. So I still am very much in favour of this project based on the feedback and information that had been provided in the past. And I reflect upon that because in 2012 it was clearly acknowledged that this project could take 20 years. Plus 2012, it could take 20 years for a vision to come to fruition. Well, we haven't even arrived there yet. That's 2032. Now, I understand we're dealing with a planning scheme, but a planning scheme can be changed if we go through the process of that particular aspect. I'm also genuinely concerned that, here we go again, we seem to be spending a lot of time and effort and cost to our ratepayers in the Planning and Environment Court. And I know that that's part of the process and that's due diligence, but I just get this uneasy feeling based on a decision that I think we could come to a mutual agreement to provide these proponents who have already spent in excess of $45 million to get to this stage. So they've got skin in the game. They've made a commitment to it. And yes, I understand, and I'm sure and I hope that those who have a genuine interest in this project have read all the conditions. They have to understand the Environmental Protection Biodiversity Conservation Act. There is many different compliance requirements that they have to fulfil. But I think to have got to this stage, I am genuinely concerned that we're actually going to lose a project of regional significance, of state significance, based on some administrative aspect in relation to a lease agreement by another tier of government. And I've said it here before, yes, we are subservient to the state government based on our tier within local government, but I think this is an opportunity for us to send a very positive message that we're happy to work with the proponents and we're happy to work with the state government to see this project come to fruition. I'm happy to debate further, but I think I'll leave it at that if you don't mind, Mayor Matt, because if we're in opposition to our destination tourism management plan or our regional tourism organisation and our regional economic development groups, then we're in conflict already based on one particular sticking point, and that is the lease agreement.
Thank you. Sorry, Councillor Cameron. I'll go back to Councillor Wagner. I thought that was a legacy hand, but it's not. So back to you.
I'm so sorry to
You're right.
ask another question,
Absolutely.
but in light of the other bit of discussion, and I think, we're all probably feeling a bit the same way, but I do have 4 other questions for our officers. I think the report was great. Thank you. Can I just ask what would prevent this applicant from doing a new application, the developer from doing a new application? Is there something that would prevent them from doing that?
No, there's no policy obstruction. It would just be them preparing a fresh application under the current scheme and current planning framework.
Okay. The other one too is I noticed that there will be a commitment in that is a clause in it, but essentially for 17 years. So they're going to be that they will maintain, look after, whatever. What happens if this is going to be overseen by another level of government? What measures do we have in place to make sure things like a desal plant and other infrastructure is up to the standards that we need? Because we don't want to have a legacy project after 17 years, preferably.
So there is other conditions in the Coordinator General conditions that speak to a high-level agreement to be put in place between council and the developer. That would be one of many points to be covered. The condition from memory is 17 years or until the rate base can support the functioning of those facilities. Now, I will hazard that council will be well aware that there's a difference between ongoing maintenance of those types of facilities and upgrades or, larger cost maintenance that often can't be predicted, and that's what we see often in our mains infrastructure here on the mainland. So that's something that has not been discussed in detail with the developer. There was some very early discussions several years ago, but have stalled and have not progressed since then.
Okay, so that leads me to the question, have we looked at, in terms of council, the impact, like I'm thinking disaster management of a, one access island, and also in terms of impact to council and our planning scheme, when you said there could be, conflicts right through this, how much impact is that going to make on council? Like, I suppose we haven't got an idea of costs or what have you, but can you just give us an idea of what we can, like, what is likely to occur or some of the challenges that we may have in this, please?
I guess the challenges, as Tegan alluded to before, are around the conflicts when the development permit applications come through. We need to consider that against the planning scheme and against the Coordinator General's conditions. And moreover, a lot of the conditions of the Coordinator General approval will be reliant on council to enforce. So even though we didn't necessarily write those conditions, we will be the ones ensuring compliance with those conditions. Now, in terms of the standard of those applications, in terms of the infrastructure, they would need to meet our current standards and we would be assessing it against that. But in terms of the nitty-gritty of what that network does and how it impacts on our network, none of that work has been done at this point.
And have we had any other developments of this size occur in the past? And have we looked at, just the long-term impacts, I suppose, for council and ratepayers?
Yes, certainly not outside our planned infrastructure area.
Okay. All right, thank you very much for that. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Sorry, I got Councillor Cameron, then back to Councillor Patrick.
Thanks, Matt. Look, it gets back to the lease agreement. My understanding is that this project lost its certificate status because of the failure to secure a lease. So there's a lot to do around about that. And as far as all the other conditions are concerned, I know we do get a lot of legacy stuff with developments like this, but there are ways to mitigate that, I believe. I think if this project was done under a community title rather than a normal situation where the whole project is and the infrastructure is owned by the proponent and run by the proponent, they could levy through body corporate for the services. The Gladstone Regional Council could impose a modest general rate because of the fact that they are part of the region, but there's no reason why that whole project can't be run as a community title where they own the infrastructure. They maintain the infrastructure.
Order? Yeah. Sorry, before I go to Councillor Patrick, so is that a question for the...
Well, it's just a suggestion. Our proponents are saying that they're trying to keep us harmless for cost of these things. And I'm looking at ways where that could happen. Now, is that a possibility? I'll give as an example, Sunrise at 1770. It's been, I don't know how long, it's been over 30 years that's been there. That's a community title. All their infrastructure is within their own body corporate. All the cost of the services are levied through their body corporate. So we have no cost there to run there except for just a general rate. Is that a possibility?
Sorry, can I get Councillor Robertson to answer that? Sorry. So,
You're not the ones doing this project, so I don't understand how you can answer that question.
In terms of this assessment, it is a yes-no assessment. It is not yes, if you do these other things. So we can't negotiate those types of elements as part of this assessment.
I appreciate that. I'm looking into the future, and my future is looking at the thing, this is actually going to happen.
That could only be progressed by the developer. So council has no ability to change those conditions. It's going to, if that was something that there was appetite to do, the developer would have to progress that through a change application
Realise
process.
that. I'm just putting it out there as a possibility that there are ways of mitigating all these costs to council.
Correct.
Moving forward.
That's not how the current approval is structured, however.
I realise it.
I'll come back to that, but Councillor Patrick was next.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. After listening to my fellow councillors, I've been grappling with this as well. A lot of time, effort, money on both sides from council as well as the proponent has gone into it. So I was just putting my thoughts out there, which is probably for an extension. There's a lot to this. It's quite complex, and I agree with the sentiments of Councillor Churchill in that this can be an amazing development for our region. However, I do also acknowledge, as other councillors have mentioned this morning, particularly Michelle Wagner or Councillor Wagner, she actually asked some of the questions that I did about the more long-term effects for our ratepayers. We are here to represent our ratepayers and what's in the best interest for them, and I have a lot of concerns with that. I also have a lot of concerns with the proponent's proposal not being to our current standards. We're here to do really good work for our community, and having exceptions and these legacy projects is a difficult one to grapple with, but I am willing to extend it if the boardroom sees fit to put an extension of this in place. Thanks.
Thank you. I've been around long enough to be able to count, and there's certainly enough support in the room for an extension. The discussion is somewhere between 2 years and 4, from what I'm hearing. I didn't hear any support for 8. I have some comments. To you, Deputy Mayor, first.
No, thank you.
Sorry, Lisa. No. I love the idea of the community title scheme is what I would like to talk about, even though it's not what we can discuss.
No, I wasn't going to talk about that, but I wasn't quite finished.
Oh,
before.
sorry,
That's
Chris.
all right.
Councillor.
Yeah, appreciate all the discussion there, but for a project of this size and scale, to expect it to fit neatly into your planning scheme, it's not unusual that it won't. So I think the planning scheme will progress with this to make it fit. That's it.
Councillor Churchill, would you like to wait to go to last? I
No,
know you like to wrap up.
I'm happy to move a motion.
Right, well, everyone's spoken except me. So
Oh,
I'd like to
right.
go.
Okay, my humblest apologies. Then can I just at least make my comment again?
Right, you can actually, you can move your motion. I'll speak. I know.
No. I'm happy to hear what you've got to
Good.
say. You might.
I don't think I'll change your mind. Been around a little while. If only it was lodged as a community title scheme in the first place, it probably would never have been refused by the boardroom, because that was always the problem. The problem was there's 530 houses and homes, townhouses, there's 240 apartments, and there's another lot of 430 apartments, and I don't know exactly what they are. This is an early stage, right? So from what I'm hearing, it's possibly 3 years seems to be where I'm finding middle ground from councillors, because there was 1 for 4 and 1 for 2, and mess seemed to say it's 3, so if I was you, that's what I'd be moving. But you go you. The biggest issue is the infrastructure that we potentially end up with in 17 years. If the rate base doesn't cover it, I'd be interested to see how that works. I've never had an issue with the resort and the motel accommodation and giving it a go, because it is very close to the Southern Great Barrier Reef. It's actually very close to its own little reef, for those who know, who locals, where you can get out and enjoy our beautiful part of the world. There are sandflies, that's a whole other story, not for me to sell them. The problem I've always had has been the bridge and the residential subdivision, and the fact that the ratepayers, like you say, if you increase your rate base, you certainly do. Like everyone says, our rates are cheaper in Brisbane. That's because there's lots of them. But the problem with this is you will only have a few in a very big area away from all the services. So that was always the issue I've had in the boardroom, is that it's a residential subdivision by and large, and our residents won't see the benefit of it until it becomes a Bribie Island. And in the meantime, the rest of the residents will be paying for that infrastructure. So I know the proponents are in the room, so if they are proceeding this, I very much encourage them to go along a community title scheme, what Councillor Cameron has suggested. And, beach houses of 1770 is the same. As you said, Sunrise at 1770. Coin Island is another classic example of an island in our region that is on a community title scheme. So they work where the rest of the community aren't expected to pick up the cost of that infrastructure in the short term or in the long term. So that's just my hint to the people in the audience. I'm happy to go along with the 3-year expansion for this, but I think there's a lot of work to be done on this development application, and it's a preliminary approval. So I'm hoping our planning team and our developers can work together to give this visionary project you talk about the legs it needs to proceed without the burden to everyone else in the community in the short term or the long term, and it could then therefore be an amazing development that everyone's happy to be proud of. And I'll let you wrap up and move your motion.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Matt. If I could just make another brief comment as such. So I think there's been a lot said in relation to the project, and Councillor Cameron rightfully is putting another idea forward, but I'm not exactly sure whether 1 year, 3 year, 4 year or 8 year, albeit whatever the timeline might be, in trying to deliver the development, because I'll go back to my original statement there before. In 2012, it's going to take 20 years to deliver the project. I make that 2032, which is still 7 years away. Based on the original information back in 2012 or prior to 2012. So, and my other comment that I would like to make is that the officers have rightfully, and thank you for your report, have rightfully put us in this position today where it's clearly a yes or no. I'd love to be able to sit and have all the discussions about the conditions and the benefits and you know, and everything else that goes with it, and the appropriateness of extending the currency period is to allow the proponents to get on and do what they need to do. But unfortunately, we can't condition that, and I can't put that in a resolution because it's not relevant, because we're dealing with another tier of government, which slightly makes us hamstrung, even though at the end of the day it'll either have impact or benefit to our region. And rightfully, thank you, Mayor Matt, you emphasised again, one of the significant strategies of the local governments to put downward pressure on rates, or to at least hold rates at a level from increasing, is to grow your rate base. And I would hope at the end of the day, whether it's the idea that Councillor Cameron's come forward, or these are all ratepayers for the future. And I sit here today because I won't be here in 17 years' time or 10 years' time or whatever the case might be. The reality of it is sometimes, sometimes in leadership, you've got to see it to be able to know, it can be delivered. But that's in the hands of the proponents. I'd like to move a motion that indicates that we provide an extension. Help me here. That an extension application be approved to the 2nd of November 2032.
That's fine. You can move that motion.
Well, I'm moving that motion on the basis to determine appropriately, because at the end of the day, if they're not going to fulfil it in 2 years or 4 years, or again, I don't want to get into any horse trading here at this stage, but I think the fact that the proponents have spent $45 million to deliver to this stage today, based on a yes and no, I'd like to give them some sense of reprieve that they can get on with it effectively tomorrow.
Thank you.
Again, we can't condition it, but I'd love to be able to condition it. Says you report to us in 2.5 years' time, in 3 years' time, and because we can call this in at any time we like, I believe, from what I understand, through notice of motion.
No, you
can't.
approve it today or you refuse it today, the extension?
No, I'll
absolutely.
approve it today.
I'm
So that's
hearing
my
you out.
motion, that an extension application to 2nd of November 2032.
Can I just get the wording on the screen right? Because 8 years and 32 don't match.
So it's 8 years from the lapse date, which
From the
is
lapse date, which was
2024.
November
It
2020.
lapsed in November 2024.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So to get to 2032, it's 8 years.
Correct.
Thank you. Right, that makes sense. Is there a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor Cameron. There's a seconder for that.
Just need reasons, Mr Mayor, for, we'll wait till it's voted on, reasons for not going. Or if the officer's recommendation isn't supported, we will need reasons.
Either way, yeah. I open the floor to discuss their refusal, yeah. Okay, any more conversation around this 8-year extension? Oh, sorry, 6-year extension, 8 years from the lapse date. A little bit confusing, but makes sense if you see it's still 32.
And so that's the confusing part for me, because we're talking 4 years or we're talking 3 years and whatever the case might be. But when we look at it, we're not actually talking 8 years.
No, we're talking 26.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, whatever date it is in January 2026, which we're halfway through January already. It's only 11 months for Christmas again. But we're talking to the 2nd of November 2032, and I don't want to get into any horse trading, but we're literally talking 6 years, albeit less.
Yeah.
And again, I don't have a
From
calendar.
today, but not from the date of the approval.
Exactly.
I think,
Yeah.
I think
So it's not 8 years, it's not 8 years,
No,
it's 6
6.
years. And as I said, I'd love to be able to condition it, so.
Thank you. Councillor Davis.
Thank you. I've just got one last question to the officers. Is there any cost to the ratepayers if we grant the extension? Like, no, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, any further questions? I have a motion on the books. The recommendation from Councillor Churchill, seconded by Councillor Cameron, is an extension of 8 years to 32, which is 6 years from today, be granted for Eaton Place, DA 98, 2009, relating to Hummock Hill Island development approved by the Coordinator General 2nd of November 2018. All in favour? Those against? Can I see those in favour again, please? 1, 2, 3, 4. I can't see Councillor Wagner.
Can I call the division, mate?
You can call the division, but I can't see Councillor Wagner.
Councillor Wagner.
I've lost Councillor Wagner. That's not good. Did we drop out?
Can we text her in? Text her in, give her a call. Hopefully,
Councillor Davis, were you in favour? Sorry.
hopefully she was
Or
privy
opposed?
to the motion.
Sorry, no against, Mr Mayor.
Let's call the division. We might have, there might be 5 in favour anyway. So all in favour? Councillor Churchill, Councillor Holzheimer, yes, Councillor Patrick, Councillor McClintock and Councillor Cameron, 5 in favour. And then even with Councillor Wagner online, it would be myself and Councillor Davis and Councillor Muscat opposed.
So respectfully, can I call for a division?
Yes, and I'll just
Thank you,
repeat
but
those I said.
I'd still love to know what Councillor Wagner's position is on it, if we can get her back online.
Well,
and if
she's not
aware of the
online.
motion.
She's just sent a message.
She votes no. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. You're opposed? Thank you, Councillor Wagner. That's perfect timing back in. The vote's still the motion's still carried. I will need reasons why shortly. So those in favour, let the record show that Councillor Churchill, Councillor Holzheimer, Councillor Patrick, Councillor McClintock, Councillor Cameron voted in favour. Myself, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Davis and Councillor Wagner voted against. And Councillor Churchill will need reasons why.
To provide the appropriateness of extending the currency period to facilitate an orderly and coordinated timeline timeline for the progression of the development as originally proposed, and to provide sufficient time to secure lease agreement with the Queensland Government.
Can
Yep,
we
yep,
don't need to see
I'm
that on the screen.
I'm satisfied with that, Mayor Matt.
I am too. For the record, I would have thought 3 years would have been more appropriate, but
Well, not, okay,
but no, that doesn't
I
need
know
to-
we're
the
going to get
motion
into the
passed.
debate, but
No, don't
if
need
I'd
to.
have moved it that the extension application seeking 3 additional years
You might have
from
got a
the
unanimous
original
decision.
date would have allowed them about 10 months.
No, but then they...
Insufficient time.
Also, sorry, the
I'm
item's
sorry,
finished,
yeah,
we've moved
yeah,
on.
all
It
right.
didn't have to be 3 years from, it could have been 3 years from today, and it could have been a unanimous decision. And now the decision is 5-4, and that's not going to look very favourable, where it could have been a unanimous decision.
But as
of the
I said
council.
in my debate, I said the reality of it was with the timeline, I don't want to go back over it again, with the timeline, because it had lapsed in 2024, at least they've got 6 years, and I know there was 4 years suggested, there was 3 years or whatever, but allowing them 10 months would not have been sufficient time.
No one was suggesting 10 months. We're talking 3 years, is what I heard earlier in the debate. But that's okay. The motion is carried. Congratulations to the members of the gallery. And I look forward to you working with our town planning scheme to move this forward. Thank you, Helen. Thank you, Tegan. Thank you, Kimberly. We'll move to the next item.
Before you do, Mayor Matt, can I just get satisfaction from our governance officer that the reasons are...
It's whatever it's your reasons.
The reason is whatever it
Okay.
is.
Don't judge your reason.
The reason could have been because I wanted to.
No,
No, you could have just said,
All right,
I
thank
believe
you.
there's a long-term community benefit to the project. Could have been another reason. Thank you. G 4.2, which is contract and expenditure approval, tenders, RPQS, 0826 roads, works and associated services. Hand over to the Acting General Manager of Finance, Governance and Risk, Tanya Wally. Thank you, Tanya.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, councillors. I'm joined this morning by Manager Contracts and Procurement Kiara Henderson and Contract Specialist Amy Layton. A register of pre-qualified supplier is a list of companies that, through a formal tender process, have been assessed and deemed capable of providing specific goods or services, allowing them to be considered for future procurement opportunities. The key concepts of an RPQS are suppliers are appointed to an RPQS. They commit to a schedule of rates for the supply of goods and services to council. An appointment to an RPQS does not guarantee a supplier will be engaged by council and does not involve a financial commitment by council. Engagements of suppliers under an RPQS are exempt from tender or quote requirements in accordance with the local government regulation. Essentially, an RPQS provides for more efficient procurement for both council and our suppliers, and through pricing schedules provides some certainty with regards to the cost. An invitation to tender was released in July 2025 and closed September 2025. 27 submissions were received and were assessed in accordance with the tender criteria. The tender panel has recommended appointment of 23 service providers to the RPQS over 9 categories of roadworks and associated services. Endorsement of the tender panel's recommendation will assist with the management of health, safety and wellbeing, financial, reputational, regulatory and compliance and environmental risks by proactively identifying suppliers that meet council's requirements with respect to the provision of services. Engagement of suppliers under the RPQS will be in accordance with council's procurement policy and corporate standard.
Thank you. Questions to Acting General Manager, please. Thank you, Councillor Holzheimer.
Morning. So, in reading this, I was just wanting to understand. So it kind of fits for this one and also the next item. So when we go the $25 million there at the bottom, is that not included in our current budget already, that decision? Because if we make a decision on our budget for those projects, then that work continues. Is this in addition to our budgeted amount or inclusive of?
No. So that's solely an indication of what we expect the value of procurement under this RPQS will be. So we can only spend budgeted money, That's just saying of our budgeted funds for the extent of this RPQS, we expect that amount to be spent on the suppliers.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions, councillors? Councillor McClintock.
Thank you. My question was actually, I think this makes a lot of sense. This is fine. I've got no problems at all with the process as far as how this applies to our business. Mine was more in regards to the visibility post this decision. 25 million, and again, it applies to both of these, is a significant chunk, and I do understand that it's all part of BAU in many regards, and our budget process does incorporate conversations about this. Is there a way for us to see with a little bit more visibility, I guess, how this is tracking so that we don't, that's a big chunk of our budget, that I don't want to just find out that it's ahead or behind at budget time. Is there already some kind of reporting process that gives us a 6-monthly update, or is that something that's very complicated and unnecessary? Can you give me a little bit of reassurance on how, I know it will improve your processes and it's definitely better, but how do we then use that information when we're making decisions? We're looking at some other significant expenditures today in the rest of the agenda, and costs like this that are very easy to sort of be almost invisible if we're not careful to our decision making.
Can I just check, are you wanting to understand just the amount of money we spend under this?
Yeah, I guess
or,
I just...
like, what do you want to achieve from that reporting, just so
Yeah.
we're
What I want to understand, I guess, is just that we are not... suddenly there's more gone out of that than what we intended, or that we have more in the bank, I guess, than what we intended. How that's tracking for us to make then our other decisions when we're looking at strategic investment or expenditures, and we've got 25 million, I'd say over years, it's not exactly cash, but how do we keep visibility of that, I guess, for us, for our other decision making is what I'm trying to summarise, and I'm doing a butchering job of it.
Sure. So a couple of things. The money spent on here, we report on a number of different line items come in to make up this $25 million. So we report on that through budget. But I guess it is possible to us to report on spend against this RPQS.
Yes, so internally we do a 6-monthly panel reporting on all of our RPQS contracts and essentially is sent to the contract managers. So we actually do have that reporting for the last multiple years. Yes.
And I guess that's all I'm looking for, is just some, not to check in on, make sure that people are doing the right thing, just so that we know how it's tracking when we're making our other decisions as far as that budget side of things.
We can report.
That's all.
We can report that through councillor information sessions.
Yeah, that'd be brilliant.
If you'd like to check it.
Cool. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you. I'm happy with the recommendation and the way it's been presented, and it has been presented before. We have monthly financial reports that give us that information, and the roads and works and associated services go across multiple departments in our business. So I'd like to move the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. Is that seconded, Councillor Cameron? Okay, got a mover and I've got a question online. Move, Councillor Muscat, seconded, Councillor Cameron. Now further questions, Councillor Davis.
No, I was just happy to move it, Mayor, but that's fine.
No worries. Any other questions? No further questions. I put the motion. All in favour? Motion is carried. Thank you, Councillor Wagner. Thank you. We'll move to the next item on the agenda, which is 4.3. Thank you, Amy. Contract and expenditure approval tender RPQS 0426 Trade Services. Back to you, Tanya.
Amy Finnis, our Manager of Maintenance, has joined us for this RPQS. This RPQS is a culmination of previous registers of pre-qualified suppliers for building, concrete, electrical, plumbing and welding, and supports maintenance activities across the region. An invitation to tender was released on the 30th of August and closed on the 7th of October, to which Council received 48 submissions. Through the initial stages of the process, several submissions were deemed as not capable of satisfying Council's safety and environmental requirements, and there was some commercial departures as well, and those did not progress. Feedback will be provided to these tenderers at the end of the process. The tender panel's recommendation is that 39 entities be appointed to the RPQS for trade services. Of the 39 tenderers, 35 have a local presence in Gladstone, which is a great result.
It is. I had to go through and make sure I'm not related to any. That's very nice. Thank you. You got a lot of family around town. Yes, absolutely. Questions? Councillor McClintock.
Oh, no, I'm happy to move it, and probably just the same comments as before. Probably more so with this. There's a lot of smaller moving parts. I just want to keep visibility, that's all.
Sure.
But yeah, happy to move.
Thank you. Move Councillor McClintock, seconded Councillor Patrick. Any further questions, councillors? No, I'm going to put the motion then. All in favour? The motion is carried. Thank you. I'll move to the next item, which is G. Thank you, Amy. Another Amy?
Thank you.
And thank you, Kiara. Any more Amy's joining us? No? G 4.4, monthly financial statements for the period ending the 31st of December 2025. Strap in. We've got some questions here. Over to you, Tanya.
I welcome April Voicey, our Acting Financial Controller, to the table. She's here with me this morning to present the monthly financial report for December. This report captures Council's progress against our adopted budget, and this month includes the outcome of Council's recent budget forecast. Our 2025-26 budget projected a surplus of $1.5 million. However, due to a forecasted accounting adjustment for a write-off of work in progress, the outcome of the forecast is a $500,000 deficit. It's of note that our 25-26 budget was developed with little to no contingencies. So while this allows for us to minimise increases in rates and charges for the community, when issues arise, there's little to trim out of the budget without impacting service levels. And Council's budget is very susceptible to emerging issues. We have at executive and officer level worked hard to find what savings we can and will continue to do so for the remainder of the budget year. We've highlighted two emerging risks in the report as having potential to further impact Council's budget, being the likelihood of future wet weather events and their impact on the issues we've had at Benarabi landfill with the leachate and piggyback liner. And we have identified a lack of mature project scopes impacting our capital project pipeline. And you'll see in the report we've noted a potential solution to that with 3 positions, and they are unbudgeted positions. Mitigations are being outworked for both of these emerging risks, and we'll continue to monitor the impact on the budget. The report does capture significant variations between budget and forecast, which does include an increase in revenue with thanks to additional grants and interest income. There's also a slight increase in rates and utility revenue forecast. On the expenditure side, as I indicated earlier, the primary increase is in forecast expenditure due to a $2 million write-off in work in progress. The work in progress that's been written off relates to work undertaken that was expected to be capitalised. A typical example of this is design work undertaken on a capital project that did not proceed, and these have accumulated over time. The write-off comes after a recommendation of the Queensland Audit Office and does represent good accounting practice. With improvements in our management of work in progress, this adjustment is not expected to reoccur. We have discussed in previous monthly financial reports both the impact of a lower than budgeted vacancy rate and its effect on employee benefit costs and the higher than budgeted legal costs. And these have been captured in the forecast with forecasted increases in those areas. Other significant increases include utility costs for community facilities, water and sewage assets and insurance. These are largely out of our control, but we are working to refine those costs where we can. Forecast aside, Council's cash balances remain healthy at $206 million. We've invested $39.5 million in capital projects to date, which at 37.5% of the capital budget is a little under where we'd like it to be at this stage. However, as projects mature, capital expenditure will increase. As of 31 December, 94.5% of rates had been paid in full, with $12.6 million outstanding. Thank you.
That might have answered some of my questions. I really wanted to ask them, but anyway, all right. Okay, Councillor McClintock.
Yeah, oh man, there was some stuff to chew on that. I do appreciate some of the stuff you just said there did answer some of my questions, particularly around the future direction and potential of things like that write-off happening again. Definitely a concern that's sitting there. I've got a bunch of little questions that are not probably important for right now, but one of them was in the, I'm just trying to scroll through while I'm talking, in the non-cash and project-related costs on page 28, 2 million of that was the work in progress write-off. The other 1.2 is sort of bundled all together and stuck under that same heading.
Yeah.
I just see things like artist fees and higher, like how much is in artist fees? That seems like a strange thing to have in that list as a significant cost of that 1.2, considering we're looking at a 0.5 deficit. That could be eaten up in some of those other things potentially. I know there's lots of numbers there moving around, but...
So we have called out artist fees in there because technically it is a variance, but my understanding is that was due to some restructuring of the way they're captured in our accounts. I can come back to you on that if you'd like.
Yeah, I'm just
some
a
more
little bit
detail.
confused where the other 1.2 really sort of disappeared to in that process. If it's budgeting, could you come back to me on that? I'm happy to take that on notice.
The let me see what was captured in there. So the legal costs are in there.
Yeah.
We know that's about, I believe the forecast was about 600,000
Okay.
over budget.
Over budget.
So we've forecast that we'll go 600,000 over budget. We are bringing a detailed report on that to the council information session in February. So you'll get that breakdown there. What else
Do
do
you
we
have
have?
a rough
And
idea on the
higher-
roads cost? Because I know that is blowing out, and it's every year it's getting way more expensive to build our roads. Do you have a rough number on that?
Yes. I don't have it to hand. April might be
Okay.
able to pull it up. But that higher road material cost is sometimes because we're doing more activity than we initially anticipated as well.
Okay. Yeah, look, I don't even... Yeah, I'll move on for now, but I'm probably, it's not anything specific. There is a lot of moving numbers up and down. There's a lot of pieces to this whole puzzle, and every time I saw something, it was sort of offset somewhere else, and I can see the picture all together, and I guess in some regards, I just feel very uncomfortable overall with where this trajectory of this has sort of sent us in this last month or two. And I guess if you could provide me some kind of confidence that we're heading in the right direction now, not likely to see another slip down, another 2 million disappeared next month, which you did in that opening address.
And just to be clear, the work that we did on the forecast when we revised it, we were able to recover, I guess, the increase in expenditure by increasing revenue that we've had. It was the work in progress that accounts for that loss of the surplus. And that work in progress, I just want to point out, yes, it is an accounting adjustment. It does appear on our bottom line. However, that is not cash expenditure that's made. That expenditure was incurred
Yeah, I get that.
at a previous time.
Yeah, I get that. It's probably the other 1.2 that I was curious about. And I guess it's not a conversation for today. It's only briefly mentioned here, but those three positions I'm really uncomfortable with. And particularly around, there's very little, because it's not actually a request, I guess, understanding as to why that would help. It's another cost, obviously, and it's not something that we take lightly, putting on new staff. There's all those other things there. So I'd like to see a really strong argument as to why that's going to improve the situation, not make it even harder to do in the future.
Those positions are primarily capitalised positions rather than operational expenditure. However, the aim of those positions is to strengthen our feasibility work that we're doing on projects, so that when we have projects enter our pipeline, their costing is a lot more mature. So therefore, these budget variances and things like that, and underspend of capital.
I get that. I do get that. Can I just confirm, though, that this decision, we're just talking about the report here, that will come back at another point a conversation about those
100%.
positions. There's not something we're deciding on today.
And I'll just throw to Lisa.
Yeah, so just briefly, we just wanted to flag this with you. We will be coming back for a further conversation. And one of the challenges of presenting our financial information is when we look at one line item or one area of expenditure, we don't necessarily tell the full story. And we have had some conversations previously about the impact that some different resourcing could have and save us money in other areas, and Mark will bring that back and we'll have conversations. But as it currently stands, I don't have authority to approve any of those positions because we're already returning a deficit when we projected a surplus, so that's not within my authority to do. So it's just for transparency, and we will follow that up and see if there's any interest in considering some alternatives moving forward.
Yep. No, and I do get that, and it may be that the three positions are very well justified. It just will need to be very well justified, obviously, because I struggle to see that as it stands. But thank you.
Thank you. I've got a few councillors lining up. Councillor Churchill, Wagner and Muscat.
Thank you for that, and I share your sentiments, Councillor McClintock, and I think the CEO sort of has basically taken some parts that I was going to refer to. But that said, you are right. And if we come back to have a look at it, because in your opening part there where you spoke about when we weren't allowing for contingencies, but contingencies isn't a negative word in the financial realms. It can be a positive one, you know. There could be cost savings somewhere, and you've already made reference to that. There could be a sell down somewhere when we review our parks and gardens. But we won't go there just yet. And same with contract performance reviews. So, and I think the CEO's sort of has answered my question in relation to some of those minimal allowances where we may be a deficit over here, but there could be a cost saving within the organisational structure by movement. So I think it's a bigger picture. And I don't think it's doomsday.
No.
It's important that we're well aware of it, and so are our ratepayers.
Yeah.
Yep.
We do, yes.
But thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wagner?
Yeah, can you hear me?
We can, yes.
Excellent. Thanks for that. Look, the report was great again. Thank you, well delivered. I think the figures there, it's hard because it's halfway through the year, so I'm sure some of that will be a bit clearer and probably on track as we head towards the end of the financial year, and we are looking at that deficit. But it does, I suppose, for me, reinforce that we're heading into a corporate planning time at the moment, which will be great. And I think looking at all these other costs and some of the challenges we're having, I think it really does reinforce that we do need to look at the stuff that we're doing that we may not need to be doing anymore and really focus on the stuff that's important to our ratepayers. But thank you for the report. It's clear and understandable. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you. I thank you for the report. I think it's a great thing for transparency. We have monthly financial reports. That's how we get to actually have visibility over our finances. And we have, in between, for those ones that are watching, we have regular updates in between, and we have discussed at length the situation in which we found ourselves in, where our officers recommended that we implement a couple of different solutions, which one of those is to get a couple of extra positions to go over some of the things that we need to review. And they have also guarantee, well, at least to us, they guarantee that they will keep us updated and making sure that, you know, everyone's accountable for the progress of those positions. Thank you again. You know, I only see this as another way of being transparent and accountable to our community and our ratepayers. So I'm happy to move the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. I'll get a second and then I'll go to Councillor Holzheimer for a question. Are you happy to second? Yes, thank you. Second to Councillor Holzheimer, and now your question.
Leading on from what Councillor Muscat said, I liked the way the story's been told in this report. I think it's really progressed over we're almost 2 years into this term. It had the new risk appetite and tolerance in there as well, which is really beneficial for community to understand. And when I read this report, I thought these are really good problems to have, some of these, you know, having really the employee benefit issue that we have, because we have and have retained more staff than we expected, that actually says a lot for workplace culture, the way that we do business around here. So there's a lot of stuff in here that are really good problems to have when you look at a budget, and maturity, even when we, you know, if we flick to ARIC in regards to the write-off of that work, and how asset management then will feed into that for us in regards to building our reputation when we put out contracts, so people are like, wow, this work's more mature, so we are more aware of that, so we're going to get better tender processes. So a lot of this stuff is really great problems to have as a business, as far as I'm concerned. So well done, everyone.
Thank you. Any further questions? Before I put the motion, and I don't need to, Michelle, that legacy hand? Thank you. Oh, good. Don't need to debate it today, but I'll be watching them closely. It's not a big deal, and we can discuss the 3 roles later, but only $500,000, I don't want to see a deficit result. Mark's over in the corner, I don't recall having a deficit result, at least other than, not in the last 10 years, other than probably COVID, where we deliberately froze rates completely across the board and probably delivered a deficit then. But other than that, I'm pretty confident we've always delivered a surplus of some description. And that's what I'll be hoping in the next few months, we can bring that back into line. So
We'll work hard for
I have
that.
no doubt we will, but I think those 3 positions that we're talking about are almost definitely on hold. But we'll see. We look forward to seeing this.
Sometimes
we can debate that when
we
the
have to
time comes.
invest.
I let everyone else go, and I just want to have my say, and I want it very clear. I'm looking forward to a surplus result come the 30th of June. Thank you. Moved, Deputy Mayor, seconded Councillor Holzheimer. All in favour? That motion is carried unanimously. Audit and Risk and Improvement Committee summary for the 3rd of December, G4.5. Back to you, Tanya. And thank you, April.
So the last Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee meeting was held on the 3rd of December. The Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee assists Council to manage its risk by monitoring and reviewing the effectiveness of financial statements and performance reporting, Council's internal audit function and governance and risk management. This report presents a summary of the ARIC meeting for Council's information.
Thank you. Any questions, councillors? Oh, okay. Thank you. Move Councillor Churchill, seconded Councillor Patrick. Councillor Cameron, question?
Just a question.
Yep.
Reading through that, it seems cyber problems seem to be high on the agenda. I noticed there was reference to a thing called Essential 8, which is some sort of a procedure you've adopted into it. Can you give us just a little idea of what that actually is?
I am not going to do our Manager of ICT disservice by trying to talk to that, but Carly will, and I'm sure we can bring you more information.
Carly will do the Manager of ICT disservice, yes. So Essential 8 is a criteria that the government have issued in order to, it's got basically 8 criteria that you should have covered for cybersecurity. That is separate to ISO, which also has criteria as well. What we adopt here is not only Essential 8, but also the ISO criteria as well. So we have our own combined criteria that covers both. So I would say we're over and above Essential 8, but absolutely cover the minimum.
Clear as mud.
Yeah.
Oh, was that not clear? Sorry. In relation to protecting ourselves with cybersecurity. So, for example, I can't think of the 8, but for example, there's the physical protections, so the types of servers, the physical things that you have in place. Another one of the 8 is education, so because obviously a major risk for cybersecurity is phishing, so how do we educate our people to ensure that people can identify risky emails, not click on them, what do you do, all the processes we have. Two-factor authentication, so when people log in remotely, you have to use your mobile phone, those kinds of things. So there's 8 key criteria that then list all the things you should do to be as safe as you possibly can, and knowing that, you know, the hackers are out there improving themselves every single day, so we have to continually improve. It's not set and forget, but we align to all of the Essential 8 and we also align to additional criteria as well. It does, yes. It's a continuous improvement journey, which is part of our BAU now. It's a have to have.
Thank you. Councillor Holzheimer?
As one of the committee members too, when we recruited 2 new positions as well into ARIC, a big focus for the matrix was around having somebody who specialised in that space as well to keep us moving in the right direction and all over that. So, and John, who does that role for us, is really efficient in driving that. So it's a big key part of the conversation in some of the matrixing that was done with the recruitment as well, for a need for us to be on top of. So that's why I'd say there's such a big focus as well in there.
Thank you. I think Councillor Patrick and then Councillor Churchill.
Sorry, just on page 42 of this report, and this is to do with the ARIC, I did just note there was some discussion at ARIC about the potential deconsolidation of the Gladstone Airport Corporation, which was discussed. Can you shine a light on that for me?
That's deconsolidation from an accounting point of view,
Okay, thank you.
not operational.
Thank you, thank you. That's all I wanted clarification on. Yes, I just wanted clarification. Thank you.
I was like, what? I didn't see that.
As a director on the airport board, my ears prick very quickly then, Councillor Patrick, but good pickup.
Yeah, very good. Councillor Churchill?
Yeah, my train of thought distracted slightly. I just come back to the Councillor Cameron raising the issue, and thank you for the report. Very comprehensive. Love what Eric does, rightfully, but we also need to be thinking, while there's a profession that's been created out there with these hackers, call it, not sure what the exact terminology is, but it's close enough to it. We also now need to understand what AI can do for us in defending, protecting, or benefiting, depending on which way that goes. And I think that's probably a discussion for a later time, but I notice that it's now starting to become a discussion within ARIC of what AI is going to do in the world of local government, and I would hope, through the Madam CEO, that you've got the answer or the solution.
If I may, Mr Mayor, in accordance with my PDA, I've recently attended some training and developed a draft strategy, and we'll be presenting a report to the executive meeting next week, and then we'd like to speak with councillors some more about what our thinking is in that area. So yeah, absolutely on our agenda.
Excellent.
Yeah, no, lovely, excellent. Thank you for that.
Carly?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And in addition to that, from a strategic level, we've been utilising AI to protect us for a number of years. So one example is we have 365-day-a-year, 24/7 monitoring of our service. So that's not one of our employees sitting there. We block thousands of attacks every single night on our systems through those facilities.
Any further questions, councillors? Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, just wanted to make a quick comment about the high calibre of staff that we have in our IT sector, and how they're often recognised in other areas, especially in the local government sector. We always get great comments about the quality of the work that we do. So, and we continue to talk about it, not just to ARIC, but all our ICT updates that we get often. Every 4 months or so. So yeah, I have sent a couple of comments about it, but it's really great to get those positive comments within the sector. Thank you.
Thank you. No further questions, councillors? No one online? Move, Councillor Churchill, second to Councillor Patrick. I'll put the motion. All in favour? The motion is carried, and we'll now move to the councillor reports. Do we have any councillor reports? No written council reports? Any verbal council reports? None. There's no urgent business, no notices of motion. We do have a confidential item, but before we go into confidential, I'd like to break for morning tea. Thank you. Welcome back to those viewing online and to everyone in the gallery. We do have a confidential item, so we'll be closing the gallery soon, and the live stream as well. But in accordance with the Local Government Act, so Local Government Regulations, 2012, Section 254J brackets G, it is proposed to close the meeting to discuss one confidential business item. And the motion is that the meeting be closed in accordance with Section, as I said, 254J brackets G of the Local Government Regulations 2012 to discuss G.81 strategic land purchase opportunity, as the report will discuss negotiations relating to a commercial matter involving the local government, which a public discussion would likely prejudice the interest of that local government, which is us. Can I get a mover to move it confidential, please? Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Second, Councillor McClintock. All in favour? The motion is carried. We'll move into confidential.
Welcome back. So, okay, we're back on confidential item G8.1, strategic land purchase opportunity. And do we have any questions or comments before we vote? Councillor McClintock?
I'd just like to move the recommendation that is not.
We will have it on the screen. Yep.
The council negotiate a proposal received for purchase of land comprising of up to 4 lots, collectively known as the golf club.
Everyone clear on that?
Delegate to the CEO.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Holzheimer, any questions, comments? Okay, well, I'll put that to the vote. Everyone in favour of the motion on the screen? Anyone against? Okay, that's been carried. So now I'd like to hand back to the Mayor, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and there's no further general business, no further items on the agenda. I declare the meeting closed at 11:55 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you.